Hi, hello everybody. My name is Christina Kim. I'm a pharmacist at the University of New Mexico Hospitals, and I am a supervisor in inpatient supervising the operating rooms, pharmaceutical services to the operating rooms, as well as procedural areas such as the cath lab, interventional radiology, GI, and I also manage the pre-anesthesia clinic pharmacy and run the sterile compounding facilities with my colleague Helga Hansen.
Hi, I'm Helga Hansen. I'm a tech supervisor, working really closely with Christina, staffing in the IV room, but also taking care of all the testing, dealing with ProTech and anything that involves the IV room training, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, great. So do you guys have a designated person full-time, or is it part of an existing role? Is it a tech or pharmacist, and does the designated person have a job description?
So the designated person can be a little bit of a confusing issue. The Board of Pharmacy requires a pharmacy to have a license, and that license has to have a pharmacist in charge that knows the daily operations of the pharmacy. And so in general, that PIC knows the daily operations of the pharmacy, including sterile compounding. So we consider that person to be the PIC and to be the designated person for sterile compounding. However, you can have designees from that role. So for example, I'm a designee for the sterile compounding areas at UNMH, and I would consider Nick to be the pharmacist in charge for CRTC, and that has its own separate license. And so as a result, he would be the PIC for CRTC, and he would have a designee that would run the daily operations of the sterile compounding areas, hazardous and non-hazardous, and be trained and be competent in all those practices. What do you think, Nick?
Yeah, no, that sounds great.
Okay.
I am the pharmacist in charge over here. And yeah, it's a big role. It's a big role to take on. Are there any new precautions you're taking to TJC proof your facility?
Yes. So we have completed a gap analysis with our sterile compounding oversight team using the ASHP USP 797 key changes document to make sure we've checked all the boxes and we know what the changes are. And in addition to that, we've crosswalk regulations with our current setup. So looking at all the changes to make sure that we are compliant with the current setup versus the regulations, and also working with our medication safety officer to educate the staff on these changes so that they can appropriately respond to questions that are presented to them by the Joint Commission, and also so that they themselves know what the changes are and can provide direct oversight for the compounders.
Okay, great. Can you talk a little bit more about your sterile or your SandSpot team, the sterile prep team?
So here at UNMH, we have a committee that is referred to as SandSpot, and that stands for the Sterile and Non-Sterile Preparation Oversight Team. And that is an oversight committee that we meet every 2 weeks, and we discuss lots of different issues. We discuss new 503B companies that we're trying to vet in order to purchase 503B products. We discuss stability issues, sterility issues. We discuss recent certification, monthly sampling, all the issues involving sterile and non-sterile compounding we bring to this committee. So if there's questions, if we need to vote on procedures that we are presenting that we would like to utilize in our different departments, we bring all that information to this committee. And decisions are made by a team of people who have knowledge about sterile and non-sterile compounding.
Okay, great. What CSTD do you use, and how's your experience with it?
Should I take that?
Yeah.
So currently we're using AgriShield since, around 2 years. what else do you want to know? Like what our experience is with it? I like it because it's a closed system, so we're never exposed to the hazardous toxic drugs. So it's quite expensive, so we're trying to be manage it nicely. But overall, I think we're pretty satisfied with it.
Okay, sounds good. What's your process for clean room daily cleaning?
Okay, so we when every shift comes in, the beginning of the shift, we do the kind of like a deep cleaning. So we clean with Virex, sterile alcohol, and or sterile water if needed. During the day, throughout the compounding, every day, we constantly clean with sterile alcohol, which we keep in the hoods, and Virex if needed. Um, like I said, every shift in the beginning does a more thorough cleaning, but we basically clean all day long.
Do you clean 3 times a day then? 3 shifts?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
In the beginning of the shift, we do kind of more like a deep cleaning to start your shift, but constantly throughout the day, we clean, we wipe everything that goes into hood, we clean the ante room, clean the containers, we carry stuff with alcohol. So we basically clean all day long in
Okay.
a roundabout way.
Sure.
May I add something to all that?
Yeah.
Of course.
I would also like to add that we do follow 797, the table
Mhm.
10, the minimum frequency for cleaning and disinfecting surfaces. And so anything that we might not have mentioned about our cleaning practices, anyone can refer to that particular chart in the new USP 797 regulation. And that's what we follow.
Okay.
Thank you, Christina.
Do you
You're welcome.
use a continuous pressure monitoring system?
Um, Currently, we're physically checking the pressures every shift.
Every shift. Okay, three
Yeah.
times a day.
Hmm.
Great.
We would
Um,
like it to be continuous, and we're
y-
working towards that, correct, Nick?
yeah, no,
Yeah. With the
with Sonic U,
with
hopefully,
Sonic U.
hopefully
Yeah.
soon. Yeah.
It's going to be
Um,
continuous then, right?
yeah, well, hopefully not too many alarms. We'll see. I hear there's what do you call it? There's a grace period when they open the door, so it doesn't just alarm every time somebody opens the door.
Oh, thank God, right?
Yeah. The what is the biggest hurdle to implementation of the USP changes?
I think in general, we were already prepared. We did have systems in place. I think rewriting and the standard operating procedures, just carving out time to get that done, even though we do follow them. But in terms of converting everything, I think sometimes space can be an issue, like for example, in the segregated compounding areas, being able to carve out a 3 foot or a 1 meter line around around the glove boxes that we utilize in those areas, and support from the hospital to make those changes is is there, but it can be a lengthy process to go through. I think Helga, you probably have some hurdles
Mm,
in terms of testing.
yeah, I can talk to that if you want. So
Yeah, I mean, it's a
yeah,
big change.
yeah, it's a little bit more complicated. I actually have to fingertip or relevant personnel twice a year now, which is quite a big number, as you can imagine. Also, the incubator, I'm just trying to read this here, they're a little bit more for the initial testing. The incubators are a little bit harder to manage, like the plates and the broth have to stay in 2 different temperatures for more days now. So I have a lot of red dots everywhere telling me where I'm at in my days. We manage, but that's a big change. And then also the initial testing is done a little different than more gowning and washing than we did before. So yeah, I think we're gotten used to it, but definitely some changes.
Okay, great. Are there any welcome changes from the new USP guidance?
Yes, actually, we did get a bit of a break on storage dating. I mean, for example, in the past, we had low, medium, and high risk, and now we have category 1, 2, and 3. Under the old regulation, our storage time was less, room temperature and refrigeration dating. And so now, for example, with room temperature, we get 4 days worth of dating and 10 days in the fridge. Whereas in the past, we were basically working with 24 to 30 hours and 9 days in the fridge.
I think you also mentioned, let's see, oh, you liked the surface sampling, the more
I
regular
did.
surface sampling.
Yeah,
Yes.
so another welcome change from the new guidelines are the requirement for surface sampling regularly. It provides more feedback for compounders and provides feedback for us to, in general, trend and know that we are staying clean.
Yeah, I like it too. And I think we're doing pretty good with it. It just gives us more of a checkup.
Yep.
What's your approach to non-sterile to sterile compounding, and how does this compare to what we've done in the past?
Well, currently we do not have a non-sterile to sterile compounding program. We did in the past, but the requirements are more stringent, and we don't have demand for this process. So we are electing not to non-sterile to sterile compound at this time.
Yeah, no, I'm not too excited about it myself.
I know.
Are there any circumstances where you would require staff to use N95 masks for hazardous drug handling? It's mentioned briefly in the chapter, but I couldn't really figure out how it really fits into our day.
Was it in 800
It's in
or?
800, and it says, it just briefly speaks to them. It says N95s, they can protect from dust or what is it, particles, but not vapors. Um,
Right.
and so it just seems like I think they're uncomfortable, and I just in our side we don't wear N95s while we're doing hazardous drug compounding.
So, yeah, so to a question like that, I would respond by saying we do not require staff to use N95 masks for hazardous drug handling. They are they are available if the staff member would like to wear them. They're not required, but when we're working in the BSC, we have a glass um, lever, if you will, in front of us that protects us from splashes or from contact um, with the product itself, in addition to using the closed system transfer device.
Right,
Yeah.
the sash, yeah. The
The sash,
and
thank you.
in our spill video, we actually have the nurses are using N95s to clean up spills, and I guess that makes a little more sense if you're worried about particle generation.
Right, especially when you're, if the spill is on the floor or,
Right.
in a place where you're not protected,
Yeah.
with a sash, for example.
Yeah.
Right. What do you use to clean under the work surface of a hood, especially a BSC?
I usually just wear my regular, my mask and whatever regular wear. We have a capper available.
Mhm.
So we used to have technicians who are, choose to put that on when they clean,
Okay.
like when you do the weekly cleaning and you take it all apart. So
Right. It's mentioned in USP 800. It's not a must though, but it is a higher risk when you're cleaning under
Right,
there, of course,
right,
than
yeah.
right.
just because
And
stuff
so
can build up.
that's, yeah. And so therefore, that's why we purchased it and have it available.
Yeah, great. And then our last question, how do you assess outsourced vendors? Have you found any outsourced vendors who use the new ASHP outsourcing vendor dashboard?
I think you have to answer that
I know.
question, Nick.
I know. I think I might just talk to this myself, but I was just, it was just to, maybe just to remind myself how to do it. But honestly, I have not found anybody who uses that dashboard. And, we work with the big boys, Nephron and stuff. And I
Right.
can't find anybody who uses that dashboard, but I can get them to fill out the form. you know, the ASHP self-assessment form. But as for the dashboard, I think people, I don't know, I guess the word just never got out.
Yeah, and as the Sandspot committee chair, I could also add that we have an assessment tool that we use that was created by Nick, and that assessment tool is used to evaluate, and then the evaluation is brought to Sandspot for an initial approval, and then reviewed once a year after that.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, that's all I had. Is there anything else you guys wanted to speak to?
Not that I can think of.
Thanks,
That's it.
Nick.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Cool.
Okay, bye.
Thanks. All right, see ya.
Bye.